Hello, this is Dr. Ben Cisse, and today we're going to learn about uh, reproduction. So I hope you give me your ears, and I hope you pay careful attention, especially for those of you who are taking biology. If you're taking biology, this is the right site for you to come. So today, for the next 30 minutes or so, the goal is to learn about what? Organism reproduction. Okay? So when we talk about organism reproduction, exactly what do we mean? Well, there are two types of reproduction, honestly. One type of reproduction deals with only the entire organism, making babies. That's one type of reproduction. Another type of reproduction is making cells. So you have babies or offspring, but inside the offspring, you also have cells. So the type of reproduction we're going to talk about first will be reproduction that involves only what? The offspring or the baby, all right? So let's go. All right, first of all, this type of reproduction, we're talking about sexual reproduction. This type of reproduction only involves what? Only involves sex cells. Or you don't want to call it sex cells, you can also call it gametes. Or maybe you don't want to use the word gametes, you don't want to use the word sex cell. You can also say sperm cell or egg cell, all right? So that's the type of reproduction first we're going to talk about. Okay, first, this type of reproduction produces genetic variation. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by sexual reproduction produces genetic variation? Well, first of all, let's take those two words and split it in half. You have genetics, which deals with genes, and then you have variation, which means change. Let's look on the board and see if we can clarify what we mean by genetic variation. Now, again, keep your focus on the word genetic variation. All right. So let's go to the board and see if we can clarify what exactly we mean by genetic variation. Okay. So here we go. So here we go. So this is sexual reproduction. Now, you and I know for sexual reproduction, it always has to involve two different individuals. When I use the word different, I'm talking about in terms of sex, male and female. Male and male, no. Female and female, no. It's got to be male and female. All right? So we have the male, and then we have the female. Now, guys, listen very carefully to me. Male and female are different. And because they're different, they have different set of genes than the males are. So I'm going to represent the male genes as blue. Okay, so I'm going to say this are the male genes, blue. And I'm going to represent the female genes as red. So these are the female genes, red. Okay, now listen very carefully. So what's going to happen now is the female has to provide their own genes, the male has to provide their own genes in order to have an offspring. There is no way you can have an offspring without combination from those two. All right. So now what's going to happen here is, so that is the female contributing to the offspring, and here is the male. Also, so what do I have? Now I have blue. And I also have what? Now I also have red genes. So this is the offspring of the baby. Okay, that's the offspring of the baby. So now, what do we mean when we use the word genetic variation? Now look, the blue gene is from what? The male. The red gene is from what? The female. When they combine, now we have recombination of genes which produces a different trait. So now this offspring has what? Genetic variation. Why is it genetic variation? Because it has combination of genes from a female who is different from a male who is different. All right? So now that I have clarified what genetic variation means, so let's go back to the okay, so sexual reproduction, what they talk about. So the type of reproduction involves sex cells, right? We already clarified that, and we said it produces genetic variation. That's what I just explained so you can understand it, okay? All right, in this type of reproduction, sperm and egg must combine. Now listen very carefully, listen. The sperm by itself is unhappy. The egg by itself is unhappy. Now, the only time those two are happy is when they come together. Then they begin to laugh, then they begin to dance, then they begin to do other things. You get me? But when the sperm is by itself and when the egg is by itself, they are not happy at all. Why? Because they are not making a baby. So the only way they can make a baby is when they come together. And when they come together, the starting point for making that baby is called a zygote. Zygote is the initial cell. It's the first cell, one cell. So you and I started out with how many cells? One cell. Oh, by the way, what's that one cell called? A zygote. All right. So as you can see, in this type of reproduction, sperm and egg combines what? To produce a what? To produce a fertilized egg. So unless that sperm actually enters, the head of the sperm enters the egg, you don't have fertilization. If you don't have fertilization, you don't have a baby. You can only have a baby when the sperm enters the egg. And once that sperm enters the egg, guess what you have? You have a zygote, the first cell, all right? So from this fertilized egg, that fertilized egg, large numbers of cells are then produced. So you started with how many cells? How many cells you have today? Trillions. So guess what? That one cell is going to divide to form 2. And that 2 cells going to divide to form 4. And that 4 is going to divide to form 8. So you have an exponential growth of cells. But you know what is interesting? Every single cell that came out of the zygote are all similar, are all the same. They have the same DNA. Why? Because they are reproducing by a process called mitosis. Mitosis always produces identical cells. Okay, so this zygote that started with one cell, after the sperm entered the egg, all of them are the same. They are not different at all. All right, so these new cells have the same DNA. I just clarified that. And what are they called now? Embryonic stem cell. Embryonic. Now listen. If you've been listening very carefully, I told you, an embryonic stem cell, all of them have what? The same DNA. So if they have the same DNA, they're doing the same job. Because the DNA has those genes that are all the same. So now what's going to happen is the embryonic stem cell, for some reason, has to find a way to make different type of cells. Okay? So the embryonic stem cell has the same DNA, and they're now called what? Embryonic stem cell. Listen. Stem cells do not, I repeat, they don't have a function. Stem cells are not specialized. They are not the surgeon for heart. They are not the surgeon for lungs. They are not the surgeon for foot. They are just sitting there waiting for something to happen from them. Okay, so let me repeat again. Do stem cells have a job? No. Can stem cells make things? No, because they don't have a function. Okay, so why then are stem cells important? Well, let's move on. Are you ready? Okay, one of the reasons why stem cells are important, embryonic stem cells are produced by what? Mitosis. Remember, I just told you what mitosis produces the same cell. And because mitosis produces the same cell, therefore they have what? The same DNA. All right? In other words, my ear cell going to produce ear cell. So by what process is my ear cell dividing? Mitosis. Now, if my ear cell is producing a nose cell, so it's producing a different cell. So it's not mitosis. All right? And because these cells are produced by mitosis, therefore they have the same DNA. Now, these stem cells have to change to different cells by a process called cell differentiation. Now listen. Every single cell in that stem cell are crying out. They are hollering, they are screaming, they are doing this, they're doing. You know what they're saying? Get me out of here. I don't want to be like you. I don't want to be like you. We all look the same. Get me out of here. They are crying, they're hollering. Because once they are inside the stem cell, they are the same. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to be different. You know what must happen for that cell to be different? They have to come out. But to come out, they have to do one important thing. And that important thing is they have to activate a particular gene inside the DNA. This would be like you. Your parent is inside the house and you're outside. In order for you to get inside the house, you have to activate your key. Open the door so you can get inside. So all the cells that are inside the cell, that are inside the DNA, all of them look the same, but they have to activate themselves. Come on, light, come on, light, come on. So, thank you. So what's going to happen is the genes inside this cell must be activated. Once those genes are activated, then they can come out and express themselves. Let me repeat again. All the cells inside the stem cells are the same. They are the same. They are screaming, let me out of here, let me out of here, let me out of here. So for those cells to come out of the stem cell, they have to activate their own particular gene so that they can be expressed for a particular function. Once those cells come out, all those cells that have been screaming, let me out, you know what happens to them? Their sizes change. Their shape changes. Their function changes. So everything that they do is completely different from each other. And because each of them have their own job, so now we say they are specialized. So what is the benefit of cell differentiation? It produces cell specialization. All right? Produces cell specialization. So cell differentiation is a process by which what? A cell becomes what? Specialized. It becomes special. Okay, what do we mean by they are now specialized? They perform a specific job. You're growing. You have different cells in your body. Those cells are growing, but each cell have their own job to do, and each cell have to grow. Inside your body, you have white blood cells. The job is to prefer your immunity. Then you also have your red blood cell. The job of your red blood cell is to carry oxygen throughout your body and carbon dioxide throughout your body as well. You have the nerve cells to send messages to and fro throughout your body. So you see, all of these cells originally were what? Were all the same. But once they step out of their comfort zone, they become different. Right? So red blood cell carries oxygen, so that's different. White blood cell provides immunity, so it's different. And our cells change from looking alike to looking different. Okay, now let's look at the picture. So here we go. That's the stem cell in the middle. Every DNA in the stem cell is the same. Stem cell can make other stem cells. Yeah. Now, you may be tempted to say, okay, stem cell is producing. No, stem cells don't produce it. No, stem cells don't have a job. Now, things can come out of it, okay? Things can come out of it, but they don't have a job. All right? So what are some of the things that can come out? Let's concentrate first on the skeletal muscle. So that's a muscle. So why did it become a muscle? Because it activated a gene from the cell, from the stem cell, and because only the gene that says muscle cell is activated, so it becomes a muscle cell. Fat cell, only the genes that are activated from the stem cell, only the genes that are activated from the stem cell became a muscle cell. All right? Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, come on, there you go. Okay, so now let's go to the next. So everyone got the picture. So neurons, only the genes inside the stem cell that specified neuron cells are the ones that activate. So each of these cells right here have to activate a specific gene in order for them to become what they are. All right. So we'll still continue with sexual reproduction. Okay. So now what's going to happen is now you have red blood cell. You just don't have one. You have lots of red blood cell activated. So guess what? They're trying to form an organization. So all the red blood cells said, you know what? Hey, my brother red blood cell, let's come up here and make an organization. Let's come up here and make a team. So all the cells that do the same job, they form a team, and the name of that organization is a tissue. And all the tissues also want to form an organization. So all the tissues that work together as a team, they form an organization called an organ. And all the organs want to do so. They want to form their own team as well. They said, you're not going to leave me behind. Me too. I'm going to form an organization. So all the organs working together as a team also forms what we call a system. And all the different systems makes you who you are. All right? But it all started out with what? With the zygote. Remember, one cell. The zygote multiplied, and when it multiplied, it became what? It became the stem cell, and from that stem cell, you activated different genes, and each of those genes activated now produces cells with different function, and all of those cells with different function now wants to form organizations. All right? So that's what this is right here. All right. So cell reproduction, genetic variation, sexual reproduction. This is just a recap. Sexual reproduction, two parents. Genetic information. Now, anytime you use the word genetic information, I'm sure most of you know that. It says genetic information. So the genes has information to do something. And that something the genes has information about is about different parts, for instance, about the human body. That gene has information for making eyes. That gene has information for making skin. That gene has information from doing different parts. And who carries that gene? Both parents. Okay? All right. So sexual reproduction uses what? Meiosis. Now, the reason why it says sexual reproduction uses meiosis, because sex cells can only be produced by a type of cell division called meiosis. There are two types of cell divisions. You have mitosis and meiosis. Now, meiosis don't produce the same, different. Mitosis produces the same. That's why mitosis occurs inside the stem cell. So anytime you hear the word sperm, anytime you hear the word egg, that's meiosis. Because meiosis only deals with what? Sexual reproduction. Okay. So meiosis creates gametes. Okay. Fertilization. Please remember, your teacher may give you a test to try to ask you in what type of reproduction involves fertilization. It's got to be meiosis. You know why? Because meiosis deals with sperm and egg. So when is the only time you can have fertilization? It's when the sperm, meiosis, enters an egg, meiosis. So once that sperm enters the egg, now you have fertilization. What is produced after that is neither a sperm nor an egg. So after that is mitosis. So after fertilization, what do you have? Everything after that is mitosis. Okay? All right. So the next one is sexual reproduction produces genetic variation among individuals with the same population. Okay, so the last thing for today that I'm going to teach you about is the process itself. Let's see how this whole process works. Okay? So now we're going to learn about fertilization. Fertilization. Okay, let's see how fertilization works. Okay, so now for fertilization to work, this is my sperm. The sperm always looking for the egg not looking for the sperm. Okay, and this is my egg. So that's the egg. So what's going to happen is they have to meet. Like I told you earlier, sperm is unhappy, egg is unhappy. So the only way they can become happy couple is when they join, when they combine together. So what's going to happen? The sperm is going to enter to the egg. So I'm going to draw a line. So on that line, you write the word fertilization. Okay, if you notice, you cannot have fertilization without the sperm going to the egg. So now look what I have. So now I have the egg, and now I have the sperm. So look at what is happening. The sperm head that carries information about you or about your future children enters the egg. This is not a sperm anymore. This is not an egg anymore. Notice the egg is all what? Green. Notice the sperm is all what? Red. Now here is a combination of red and green. Therefore, it is not a sperm, neither is that an egg? So now we have a special name for it, and that's called a zygote. What's a zygote? Now this is called a fertilized egg. A zygote is a fertilized egg. So now what's going to happen? That's one cell, right? When the sperm enters the egg, you're not going to have two cells automatically. No, not at all. You only have one cell. But what's going to happen to that one cell is going to divide by mitosis. Okay, so we have mitosis. Why is it mitosis? Because it is not a, and it's not a, now it's a what? Combination of both. So from now on, moving forward, that's mitosis taking place. Okay, so now what's going to happen inside this zygote? Now we're going to have what we call stem cells. Stem cells. And because the cells are produced by mitosis, therefore all of them are alike. Okay, so all the stem cells are now alike. Do you think those cells love being alike? No. They are screaming, they're hollering. Get me out of here. I don't want to be like you. Get me out of here. You're ugly. I don't want to look like you. So they are hollering and screaming, they want to get out. But to get out, they have to do one thing. They have to activate a gene. And once they activate a gene, whatever gene they activate, that's what is going to be expressed. That's what is going to be seen. So let's see how the genes are activated. So now here we go. So this one is going to activate that gene, and also then we have, it's going to activate that gene. So I'm going to stop right. I'm just going to draw 3, then activate this gene. So it activated like the light green color, and this light green is saying, make me a skin cell. So guess what? Every light green that's activated becomes a skin cell. And this is saying, I want to activate a purple. Okay, so every purple that's activated is going to be a neuron or nerve cell. And then we have red blood cell. So differentiation takes place, starts from inside the stem cell, and because all of them are different, based on their structure, gives them their function. Their size is different, and how they look is different. Okay, so now we have the different type of cells. So the different cells, different type of cells you have in the body is because of what? Differentiation. To get differentiation, what must happen? Gene must be activated. All right. I hope you have learned a whole lot about sexual reproduction and differentiation, and please tune into my channel. You will learn a whole lot more. All right. Thank you for being here. This is Honorable Dr. Ben Sisi. Honorable cell structure and function. So this video is about